what it truly feels like to be part of a family. We're only playing house. What? There's no blood relation. We're just a band of strangers. Sister, the one surviving demon, tries to escape the mountain but is stopped by Shinobu. Sister begs for forgiveness and claims that she was forced into this lifestyle by Rui, but Shinobu knows that Sister has devoured dozens of humans willingly and isn't about to let that slide. Shinobu's sword is so thin that it isn't even capable of beheading a demon, but it infects Sister with a deadly poison that has her dead within seconds. Insect breathing, butterfly dance, and caprice. These Hashira are seriously no freaking joke. Episode 21, Against Core Rules. This episode starts off with even more backstory for a demon that's already been killed. Yeah, we'll get used to it. When he was a human, Rui used to be a very frail and sickly child. One day, Muzan appeared before him and offered him strength in exchange for his humanity. He accepted, but when his parents discovered him eating someone, they tried to kill their own son. Rui was forced to kill his own parents in self-defense. As he turns to ash on Mount Natagumo, Rui apologizes to his parents and regrets that he likely will be going to hell, where he won't be able to see his family. Then, the spirits of his parents appear and tell Rui that wherever he goes, they'll all go together. And they all go to hell as a happy family. Happy ending? I don't think so. Tanjiro consoles the dying demon, but Giyu tells him not to waste his time on such monstrous creatures. However, Tanjiro, with a demon sister of his own, sees it a little differently. When Giyu notices Nezuko, he's surprised at how different she seems from the last time they met. You know, when he tried to kill her. When it comes to those who felt despair and regret from the actions they took as a demon, I will never disrespect them. Suddenly, Shinobu comes flying out of the darkness and tries to behead Nezuko, but Giyu jumps in to block her. Aww, and just 20 episodes ago, he was the one trying to kill her. Meanwhile, the Demon Slayer's support staff, known as the Kakushi, administer antidotes and medicine to all the wounded Slayers on the mountain. They remark that if Zenitsu hadn't killed the Spider Demon when he did, the poison would have been much stronger and none of the Slayers would still be alive. They also rescue Inosuke, who is devastated at his own weakness for not being able to take down a single member of the demon family. Hey now Inosuke, you had some nice assists. Giyu tells Tanjiro to take his sister and run while he holds off Shinobu, which is, of course, completely against the rules of the Slayer Corps. Tanjiro is just barely able to pull himself to his feet and run. But he's soon attacked by a young female Slayer who was one of the survivors at final selection. She tries to kill Nezuko, but a crow swoops in with orders for Tanjiro and Nezuko to be taken into custody alive. Did she just shrink into a child? Tanjiro passes out, and when he wakes up, he finds himself in the presence of all the assembled Hashira. Oh no, our boy is in deep trouble. Episode 22, Master of the Mansion. Hoo boy, we've got quite the cast of characters to introduce here. We've already met the water and insect Hashiras, but with them is the fiery and righteous flame Hashira Kyojiro Rengoku, the flashy and stylish sound Hashira Tengen Uzui, and the beautiful merciful love Hashira Mitsura Kanroji. But wait, there's more. We've got the stone Hashira Kiyome Himejima, a gentle giant who is blind and almost always praying. The mist Hashira Miuchiro Tokito, who is a bit spaced out. And of course, who could forget the serpent Hashira Iguro Obanai, an aloof and unforgiving swordsman who only cares about strength. Whew. Anyway, the Hashira demand that Tanjiro explain to them why he's been traveling around with the demon, and he tells them the whole story. The Hashira aren't too keen on trusting a newbie like Tanjiro, but they decide to wait until their master arrives to make judgment. Tanjiro is wondering where Nezuko is when she gets brought in by our last Hashira, Sonami Shinazugala, the Wind Hashira. He's by far the most impulsive and aggressive of the bunch. So much so that bro is ready to kill Nezuko right here and now. He stabs through Nezuko's box and injures her shoulder, causing Tanjiro to bolt forward and headbutt Sonami, surprising all the Hashira. Pardon me. Before the Wind Hashira can get his revenge, they're interrupted by the return of their master, Kaguya Ubuyashiki. We finally get our first look at the head Demon Slayer's face, and it seems like he has some kind of mysterious illness. The top half of his face is all scarred up, making him blind. The Hashira instantly kneel before Kaguya, and he wastes no time in saying that it's totally cool with him if Tanjiro keeps traveling around with Nezuko. Cool boss alert. He reads a letter from Urokudaki saying he'd stake his life betting that Nezuko would never hurt a human. That sly dog Urokudaki never mentioned it, but he used to be a Hashira himself, so his words carry a lot of weight. The Hashira have their doubts, but their deep love and admiration for the master outweighs them all. For everyone except Sonami, that is. That jerk drags Nezuko's box into the shade, cuts his own arm to draw blood, and repeatedly stabs Nezuko to try and provoke her into attacking. What a psycho. Episode 23, Hashira Meeting. Nezuko climbs out of her box and growls at Sonami, but she remembers her life as a human and is able to turn away from the fresh blood. The master takes this as proof that Nezuko can be trusted, but he tells Tanjiro that they won't be fully accepted into the core unless he and Nezuko can take down one of the 12 Kizuki by themselves. Let's start by defeating a 12 Kizuki first. Yes, sir. Then, Shinobu offers to take the siblings in while they recover, and they're carried off by 2 Kakushi. As he's leaving, the master tells Tanjiro to give his regards to Lady Tamayo. Tanjiro is brought to Shinobu's estate, the Butterfly Mansion. There, he encounters the girl who attacked him and Nezuko on Mount Natagumo. And it turns out she's the adopted sister of Shinobu, Lady Kanao Tsuyuri. She's super quiet and doesn't respond to anything the Kikuchi ask her, so they just bring Tanjiro inside. There, he reunites with Zenitsu, who's still completely freaking out over the whole spider experience, and Inosuke, who's still completely depressed over his own weakness. Pull it together, guys. The backroom's been yelling at me ever since I arrived at this place also. Hey, stop prying on me. I've got nothing to do with this. Tanjiro is grateful that he and his friends all survived their last mission, and vows to get stronger so they never have a close call like that again. At a Hashira meeting that night, the Slayers discuss how demons seem to be getting bolder in their attacks against humans, and are disappointed in how useless most of the Slayers were in the last mission. But the master remains hopeful and tells them that they are the strongest group of Hashira there's been in hundreds of years. He also believes that the appearance of Tanjiro and Nezuko might be a sign that something big is coming, and swears that he will take down Muzan if it's the last thing he does. Episode 24, Rehabilitation Training. Our main trio continues to recover at the Butterfly Mansion. Also, living there is the strict caretaker, Aoi Kamzuka, and her 3 young helpers, Naho, Kiyo, and Sumi, plus the quiet Lady Kanao and Shinobu, of course. Once they're recovered enough, it's time for the boys to start their rehab. But it's no picnic. Tanjiro and Inosuke train for 2 weeks before Zenitsu is even recovered, and every day they come back completely exhausted, making Zenitsu terrified to join them, which is par for the course. All you did was frolic with fools all day, so why did you come back looking all haggard like that? Apologize, it dropped dead. The boys start their training slowly and regain their strength, but no matter how much they improve, none of them are ever able to get close to beating Kanao in a reflex training game or a game of tag. Pretty soon, Zenitsu and Inosuke give up and stop coming to training entirely. Tanjiro wonders how she's able to move so fast while remaining so composed, and the 3 helpers tell him it's because she's able to maintain total concentration breathing 24/7. At first, he's unable to do it for more than like a little bit each day, but the girls bring him hollowed-out gourds and tell Tanjiro to train his lungs until he can explode the gourds just by blowing into them. So, Tanjiro's greatest strengths are giving headbutts and blowing really hard. I'll take my leave now. Weeks go by, and one day while training, Shinobu commends Tanjiro on not giving up. He asks why he always smells a faint sense of anger coming from her. Shinobu explains that she had an older sister named Kane, who was sympathetic to demons but ended up being killed by one. Because of this, Shinobu has an unending rage towards demons, but a part of her wants to carry on her sister's wish to find a way humans and demons can coexist. These conflicting emotions place a huge toll on Shinobu, and she asks Tanjiro to carry on her sister's wish in her place. How about you take care of your own problems, ma'am? Episode 25, Suguko Kano Tsuyuri. This episode continues with our MC's training arc. Tanjiro asks Kanzaka's 3 helpers to beat him with sticks anytime he stops his total concentration breathing, even in his sleep. He trains tirelessly while the other 2 boys continue to slack off, but he is still not fast enough to catch Kanao, who still hasn't said a word. When Kanao was young, she was sold off as a slave by her impoverished parents. She was later rescued by Shinobu and Kane, who took her in as an apprentice. At first, she wasn't able to do anything by herself, but Kane gave her a coin and told her to flip it anytime she needed to make a decision. Women supporting women. Back in the present, Haganezuka comes by to deliver Tanjiro's new swords, and he's not too happy about Tanjiro damaging his work. Over here. Long time no see. How you been since we... Inosuke gets 2 pristine new swords from a much calmer swordsmith, and he immediately smashes them with rocks to make them serrated. Him and Haganezuka truly deserve each other. Dirty swine, they're dead. Get now. After repeated failures, Tanjiro is finally able to catch Kano in a game of tag, and the boys are deemed ready to return to combat. He asks Shinobu if she knows anything about the breathing technique his dad taught him. She says that she hasn't heard of it. Rengoku, the flame Hashira, uses something called flame breathing, which is similar to what Tanjiro was describing, but is actually a completely different thing. The episode ends with a preview of our next arc, a demon devouring a woman aboard a train. Yo, goosebumps. Episode 26, New Mission. The final episode of Season 1 starts with a meeting of the Kizuki. The lower 6 Kizuki are summoned to Muzan's lair, an endless, shifting labyrinth of rooms called the Infinity Castle. The entire space is controlled by a demon with a biwa, a stringed instrument. Muzan is furious at Rui's defeat, and when one of them thinks a bad thought about Muzan, the demons are shocked to learn that their master is even capable of reading their minds. The offending demon is consumed by Muzan, who then starts slaughtering the rest of the lower ranks. Damn, why is this happening? Am I next? After all I went through to become a 12th Kizuki, why? Soon, there's only one demon left, named Enmu, and he's enough of a freak that Muzan lets him live and even gives him more of his blood. Muzan tells Enmu to find and kill the Slayer with the Hanafuda earrings. Our main trio gets their next mission. They are to report to the Mugen train where over 40 people have gone missing, and there they will join the Flame Hashira Rengoku. Before he leaves, Tanjiro says goodbye to Kanao, who has finally started talking to him, because a coin flip told her to. Tanjiro says they should do one last coin flip, and if it's heads, Kanao will listen to her heart from now on. By pure luck, he gets heads, and Kanao holds the coin close to her as Tanjiro departs. The trio thanks everyone at the Butterfly Mansion and says their farewells. At least they're aware of it. The boys and Nezuko reach the Mugen train, which Inosuke thinks is a giant metal monster, and are off on their next mission. The first feature film in the Demon Slayer canon opens with Master Kaguya walking through a graveyard of fallen demon slayers. His assistant says that due to his failing